The breaking news coming in from Russia. Take a look at this. Russia's state news agency just announcing that the prominent Russian opposition leader, Boris Nemtsov, has been shot and killed by an unknown assailant. Nemtsov was Russia's deputy prime minister under President Boris Yeltsin in the late 1990s. He's been one of the current President Vladimir Putin's most vocal critics. Let's go to Moscow. Our senior international correspondent, Fred Pleitgen, is joining us on the phone. What a shocking development, Fred. What are they saying over there?
Yeah, absolutely, Wolf. Very shocking developments here on a Friday night, and we're trying to get additional information as to what exactly happened there. Now, there's several things that we do know, and that apparently that the shooting happened very close to the Kremlin, so very close to Vladimir Putin's office. It appears to have happened on a bridge that leads towards St. Basil's Cathedral, which is really right in the center of Moscow. And that's one of the things that makes all of this so very bizarre. And that's actually an area where on a Friday evening there will be a lot going on there. There's a lot of traffic. There's also normally actually a lot of people walking around there as well. The latest that we have from the police is that apparently he was shot by an unknown assailant, they say, 4 times. We do know that one of his close friends and another opposition figure has been at the scene since then, has seen and confirmed that the person who was killed is indeed Boris Nemtsov. At this point in time, the police say that they're trying and looking for the assailant, and at this point, obviously trying to chase him down. What we have from them is that they say that there's several what they call operatives and investigators on the scene, which seems to indicate that they're trying to look and see who might be behind all this. But of course, this is a huge event here in Moscow, and it also comes, Wolf, at a very pivotal time because it's only 1 day away from a very big opposition rally that was supposed to happen here, of course, criticizing Vladimir Putin, criticizing the crisis, the economic crisis, and of course also the foreign policy crisis that this country is in at the moment. So this is certainly going to stir a lot of questioning, if you will, from the opposition here in this country, Wolf. You know,
it's pretty shocking when you think about this. One of the main opposition leaders, Boris Nemtsov, shot and killed in Moscow. He gave an interview to CNN's Anthony Bourdain last year, and I want to just read a couple sentences what he told Anthony Bourdain. Speaking of Russia right now, this is the former deputy prime minister of Russia. He said this. He said, "This is a country of corruption, and if you have business, you are in a very unsafe situation. Everybody can press you and destroy your business. That's it. This is the system." And he goes on to really, really criticize what's going on. I sense, and I remember watching that interview, and I've seen other interviews he's given. This is a guy who was worried about his own safety, and obviously tonight he's been shot and killed. Tell us a little bit about Boris Nemtsov, Fred.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly he was very worried about his safety, and certainly he was one of the most outspoken critics of the system here and of Vladimir Putin as well. He criticized the system very frequently, especially around the Sochi Olympics, criticized what he called was corruption there. He'd also been detained several times. He'd been sentenced to jail several times. The last time that he was in prison was in 2011, all of them for criticizing the Putin government. He was a prominent figure also at many rallies, opposition rallies here in Moscow and in other places, criticizing the Putin government. So this is certainly someone who has had run-ins with the establishment here, with the people that he was criticizing, and certainly someone who had paid a very heavy price. He's also someone who is very prominent in Russian politics in general. As you mentioned, Wolf, he was deputy prime minister in the Yeltsin administration in the late 90s, and then, of course, was someone who many people believe might become prime minister himself afterwards. But then when Putin took power, all of that obviously didn't happen, and then he took on more of an opposition role, and at that point came into brushes where since 2007 he was arrested several times by authorities here, all of it because of opposition activity. Now, the other thing that he did is he also founded an opposition movement, the Solidarity Movement, as he called it, which frequently held rallies, which frequently criticized Vladimir Putin and his government and generally the sort of power system here in Russia. So this was certainly someone who has had his brushes here with the law, with the establishment here, has paid a heavy price so far, and was certainly someone, as you said, Wolf, who feared for his safety, who also, of course, feared for his freedom as well. And again, this comes at a very pivotal time, right before that big opposition rally. And it's going to be interesting to see what all of this is going to mean for the opposition movement here in Russia, especially at this very key time right now, especially as we're looking at this time right now with the ongoing crisis in Ukraine, with the international sanctions against the Putin government, with in many ways, of course, Putin himself hunkering down, shooting against the West, and of course, at this time, not or wanting even less to have any sort of internal criticism. There's been newspapers that have been shut down here in Russia. There's been websites that have been shut down here in Russia in the past couple of months. So this certainly comes at a very, very important time and is sure to stir a big reaction from the opposition.
Yeah.